Vietnam-China boost trade ties. Corporates strengthen cybersecurity. Hello and welcome to this edition of BizLine brought to you by VTV International. You're with me, Phát. And as usual, we'll begin our program by reviewing the economic highlights over the past week. A delegation led by the Vice Chairman of the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, or CCPIT, in Zhejiang Province, Huang Xiaohang, paid a 4-day visit to Vietnam, which began on Monday. During the visit, a conference held by CCPIT and Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry was held to further strengthen economic cooperation between the Zhejiang Province of China and Vietnam. The event attracted more than 150 Vietnamese and Chinese enterprises, mainly in the field of smart teaching tools, office stationery, glass and crystal crafted products, and furniture. According to reports from Chinese customs agencies, Vietnam was the biggest trade partner of China in ASEAN in 2016. Zhejiang Province has great potential in this partnership due to it ranking third in terms of economic dynamism in China, following Beijing and Shanghai. The Vietnam's Directorate of Fisheries, Vietnam's Trade Office, and various seafood associations in Vietnam held a press conference on Tuesday to explain the process of traffic farming in the country at the 2017 Seafood Expo Global in Brussels, Belgium. This was aimed at stopping the decline of Vietnamese traffic imports to Europe after rumors that traffic farming causes pollution spread. At the conference, representatives of Vietnam's seafood associations all affirmed that Vietnamese shellfish, prior to being imported to Europe, is carefully examined based on strict sanitary standards. The adverse information on Vietnam's shellfish farming has caused hesitance among some European importers. Despite this, shellfish was the main Vietnamese seafood product introduced at the 2017 Seafood Expo Global. According to the International Air Transport Association, or IATA, Vietnam's aviation market is the 7th fastest growing in the world from 2013 to 2017, with an annual expected growth rate of 6.9% and 6.6% for international passengers and freight, respectively. The volume of goods transported by domestic airlines grew to 1.4 million tons last year. By the end of 2016, the domestic aviation market had attracted 50 foreign airlines from 25 countries. However, this sector is also encountering challenges such as overloaded airports, fuel price hikes, and an unstable market. Vietnam currently owns 22 airports, 8 of which are international. Software exports rank second to the industries of coal, oil, and gas, according to data from the FPT Corporation, Vietnam's leading information technology company. With total revenue of $994 billion worldwide, this industry offers a significant potential market and a chance to gain a strong foothold. In Vietnam, human resources create the high added value of 85% to the software export, compared to only 50% in the rice industry. However, there has been a lack of labor force in this sector. Graduates have many job opportunities in this field. According to the latest report of platform provider Apota, Vietnam currently has 38 million social network users on mobile phones, of which 94% use their cell phones to access social networks every day. Vietnam is listed among the top 20 countries with the most internet users in the world, with about 49 million. The number of mobile phone subscriptions exceeded over 130 million. Notably, the number of people at the age of 18 to 34 who access internet only on mobile phones stands at a high proportion against the number of people who use the internet through computers or other devices. Apart from social networks, mobile phone internet users in Vietnam spend time on chatting, gaming, music, and entertainment, while news reading comes last. We have just reviewed some of the economic highlights over the past week. Up next in our crosstalk, we'll talk about how Vietnamese companies protect themselves from cyber threat attack via digital transformation. The Internet of Things, big data and automation are opening up various opportunities for Vietnamese businesses. Yet, aside from advantages, this is also the threat to security. Over 134,000 cybersecurity incidents occurred in 2016, a four-fold on-year increase, according to Vietnam Computer Emergency Response Team. Despite the increase, many Vietnamese businesses still lack knowledge on the issue. What leads to this problem? What are the main security challenges that Vietnam is facing? And how can Vietnamese firms address the issue? We spoke with Nguyễn Duy Lân, co-founder and chief research officer of US-based Veramind, to learn more about this. But first, let's take a look at an overview of corporate cybersecurity in the following clip.
In 2016, Vietnam lost over $450 million due to cyber incidents and attacks, according to BKAV Corporation. Among those, aviation, banking and telecommunications were hit the most. According to experts, this is due in part to infrastructure not meeting security requirements, while users' awareness of the issue remains low. For businesses, aside from financial losses, security is also an obstacle for their growth in the fourth industrial revolution. According to statistics from Cisco System, a technology firm, in 2016, 71% of enterprises in Vietnam regarded cybersecurity as a factor that hindered their digitization. 40% of them decided to cancel their digitization measures or innovations in the security process for fear of security issues.
Thank you so much for joining our BizLine. So how do you assess Vietnamese small, medium and large-sized enterprise cybersecurity in recent times, and how big an issue is it?
I think the cybersecurity issues in Vietnam is pretty big. Based on a report by Microsoft, Vietnam computers are among the most infected computers in the world. And Vietnam also among the most attacked countries in the cyberspace, based on a report by CrowdStrike. And they are just the known incidents. For the unknown incident, it could be as bad. Another thing is that, like, apart from the lack of cybersecurity expertise in the region, recently I saw a discussion on Facebook and a friend saying that his IT system has been notified of being infected by a new malware, but for a week there hasn't been any fix by the admin. And also the admin also doesn't allow anyone to touch the system. Another issue is the level of pirated software in these countries. A lot of computers installing pirated software, and it's a very easy, important infection vectors in the cyberspace because like the malware can just be installed together with the pirated software, and because it's pirated, so there's no updates, and the vulnerabilities gonna be there.
Over 90% of Vietnamese firms are small and medium in size. So what do you think about the capacity of those firms to prevent cyber attack and protect themselves from cyber attack?
It's going to be very difficult to properly protect the IT systems. They would need high-skilled security professionals and like some good amount of financial resources. And it's not always available to small and medium companies. Many of those companies may not have a lot of values to protect, but again, like there's things like ransomware, which can be used to attack any companies and make money and damage any companies.
A notable malware that many Vietnamese firms struggle with recently is ransomware. Basically, it kidnaps users' data, ransoming it for hundreds or thousands of US. Security vendor Bitdefender said ransomware authors are switching their targets from individuals to small and medium-sized enterprises because they are able to pay more than individuals.
2 năm trở lại đây thì không chỉ có những cái khách hàng lớn như là các ngân hàng lớn hoặc là các cái cơ sở tài chính lớn tìm đến chúng tôi nữa, mà có xuất hiện cả những cái SMB, những cái doanh nghiệp vừa và nhỏ, tức là họ cũng là nạn nhân của các cái con mã độc ransomware đó. bên FBI đã thống kê là trong năm 2016 ấy, số tiền trả cho các tác giả của Ransomware lên đến là 1 tỷ đô la.
According to a report by BKAV Corporation, in 2016, 1.6 out of 10 emails contained ransomware.
Năm 2016 thì nó bùng nổ một cách là rõ rệt. Dạng mã độc này lây lan chủ yếu là thông qua những cái file văn bản được đính kèm ở trong các email mà gửi đến người dùng. Sau khi người dùng kích vào mở những cái file văn bản này thì bị nhiễm và mạo hóa những tài liệu.
The challenge still remains that most crime is global. So typically, you wouldn't attack your own country because of the risk of prosecution. You attack some other country.
Ransomware is just one among many cyber threats that Vietnamese businesses are facing. These include advanced persistent threats or APT, website defacement, and distributed denial of service, among others.
Experts say that technological development is an opportunity for business to modernize. So what are kinds of cyber threats that Vietnamese firms will face?
It will be a lot. Like it vary widely from like the hardware they're gonna use, the software they're gonna use, the infrastructure they're gonna use, the architecture of the system. On top of that, so any vulnerabilities in this process could create like big gaps for hackers to attack and intrude the systems. People have been talking about the Industrial Revolution 4.0. It's a world of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics. And in this world, there's going to be a lot of software, even a lot more than now. A lot of software is going to be written at very high speed. And that's going to introduce a lot of vulnerabilities into this world. There's some statistics about that, like in 1,000 lines of code written, there are about like a few vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Technological developments allow companies to be more productive, but it also digitalize a lot of information, a lot of data, and a lot of activities to be digitalized, to be online. And that's open vectors for attackers to get inside the systems, and if they can control like all digitalized activities, then they can do a lot of damage.
In the past year, banks and airlines are the two sectors that faced a lot of cyber attacks. So in the coming time, what sectors do you think that will face threats from cyber attacks?
It could be any sectors with valuable digital assets, but not very well protected. It could be from like defense and government. There are a lot of like political and military plans that can be exposed, and it's going to be a big damage. It could be in our main economy sectors like oil, gas, mining, continue to be in financial and banking as well. And actually, one area which has been attacked quite often in developed countries is retailers, because they contain a lot of customer private information. So that hasn't been developed much in Vietnam, but it will be developed a lot in Vietnam, like the kind of online transaction, the kind of like online trading. So they will be targeted as well in Vietnam.
Financial loss is one of the consequences enterprises suffer when they face cybersecurity breaches. Business loss to cyber attacks in the Asia-Pacific region amounted to $81.3 billion in the 12 months to September 2015, accounting for a quarter of total global cost, according to a survey by Grant Thornton, a professional services company. However, businesses have also had to bear other kinds of losses.
Tổn thất về khả năng cạnh tranh bị rò rỉ thông tin. Ví dụ doanh nghiệp tham gia một gói thầu nhưng lại bị thông tin rò rỉ về giá hay là về các cái giải pháp của mình, thì chắc chắn là cái sự cạnh tranh, hoặc là chiến lược kinh doanh của doanh nghiệp mà bị rò rỉ thì cái khả năng cạnh tranh trước đối thủ là cũng bị.
Hacker đang có những cái đợt tấn công để nhằm chiếm đoạt về mặt tài chính. Tuy nhiên là quan trọng nhất là dựa vào đó thì hacker sẽ lợi dụng hạ uy tín của các đơn vị doanh nghiệp.
According to the Cisco 2017 Annual Cybersecurity Report, more than 50% of surveyed organizations have had to cope with public scrutiny following a security breach. 22% of attacked companies lost their customers, while 29% reported revenue losses due to breaches.
Financial losses can be calculated, but for other losses can be calculated. So, in your opinion, how can Vietnamese firms do to minimize their losses after cyber attack?
Actually, the war we are living in now, the cyber war we are living in now, is called the assume breach war. That means people should always assume that the system has been breached already, and they have to prepare for that, for the worst case. The FBI directors, James Comey, actually said that there are two kinds of companies in the world. One is breach and know it, and one is breach and don't know it. So basically everyone could be breached anytime. Even the best hacker teams in the world, like the Equation Group by NSA or the hacking team in Italy has been attacked. They lost their information, they lost their source code. So it could happen to any companies. Imagine like for big corporations, they have like thousands of employees and they have like hundreds of offices all over the countries. So employees, they don't know deeply about security. And hackers, they can be very well trained, they can be very patient, and they just need some little gaps in there in order to intrude the system.
It is better for enterprises to prevent cyber attack before they are attacked.
Yeah.
But the investment into IT system to prepare for that is not minor, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises. So what kinds of technology, human resources, and investment options can Vietnamese firms take to prevent themselves from cyber attack?
I guess they can just do the best they can, but it can be like in some steps. Like firstly, they need to have a good security architectures for their systems to prevent the attacks happening from the first place. They need to have good training for people. They have to have like good security practice for people to follow, and they need to open like some kind of special department to take care of security. It's something called Security Operations Center. That center is like the center to monitor the IT system, detect anything like wrong with the system, and respond to it quickly. You can compare it with like protecting a building. So at first you need like a good design, good doors, good locks, but then you also need a good camera system to like monitor the whole building. The Security Operations Center that I mentioned is like the security department. Like there are going to be some people sitting and watching the camera system to notify anything wrong and respond to anything wrong quickly. It could be like a fire or it could be intrusions. They would need some professional security professionals, and they need to have good tools, good software products in order for them to monitor, detect anything wrong and respond quickly to anything wrong.
Besides human resources, as you mentioned, are there any kind of technologies that Vietnamese firms, especially small and medium-sized ones, can apply to protect themselves, especially as they lack of capital?
In terms of improving cybersecurity, there are three pillars: technologies, process, and people. In terms of technologies, using innovative technologies, have a good knowledge about cybersecurity and have a good overall protection for IT system would be a good step. Security from one aspect can be viewed in like three pillars. So one is prevention. That means prevent intrusions and attack from entering the system. And the second one is detection. So like detect the intrusion as fast as possible. And the third one is response. That means you have to respond to the intrusion as quickly as possible. So previously, the part of security products have been developed mainly in prevention and protection. But in this world, it's assumed breach. So the new direction in developing security products is to develop rapid detection and response.
Solution to ransomware. Risk testing solutions from the coding stage. Solutions to manage security in employees' personal devices. These were some of the solutions that were introduced at the 2017 Security Fair held in the early April.
It definitely hasn't been an increase in interest. Initially, when we first started, it's like 1 or 2 companies we would talk to. Now there are more than 10, 20 customers that are interested.
Regarding small and medium-sized enterprises, experts suggested that firm could hire an independent security consulting agency if they want to save money.
The SMEs that we see around the world, because they have limited budget, what they do is that they go through a MSSP, management service provider. So what the managed service provider is, an outsource company that help them to manage their security postures. So what they do is they subscribe a monthly services, so that then the cost is a lot less.
Yet, above all, experts affirmed the importance of human development as the vital solution.
Những cái doanh nghiệp này có thể đầu tư hàng trăm triệu đến hàng tỷ cho những cái thiết bị, trang thiết bị của mình, nhưng mà lại chưa có cái đội ngũ phù hợp để triển khai cái giải pháp đấy lên trên hệ thống của mình. Nhiều khi kể cả chúng ta có thể mua thiết bị tối tân đến mức độ như thế nào, nhưng mà không có người cấu hình một cái đúng đắn phù hợp thì cũng có thể là một điểm yếu để hacker lợi dụng để khai thác.
According to a security survey by Ernst & Young Vietnam released earlier this month, over 73% of Vietnamese firms lacked human resources that are able to ensure their security.
Vietnam has seen an increasing number of cybersecurity providers, both from domestic market and also from foreign countries. So do you think that this number and also their services meet the demand of Vietnamese firms?
No, I don't think so. And not only for Vietnam, but like for the world. I think the security solution provided nowadays are not sufficient. Why that? One thing is that like the growing cost of cybercrime in the world has been growing very fast. 2 years ago, the cost was $400 billion. But now it's like $450 billion after 2 years. Actually, 5 years ago, the cost was like $150 billion. So after 5 years, like the cost has increased 3 times more. Another thing is that cybersecurity research is still a very hot topic nowadays. People still like try to invest and try to find a good solution for these problems. And actually, most of the solutions nowadays in the world are not a like complete solution. It's more like a bag of tricks. Like they can do something, they can do this thing and that things, and they just use this as a product. And because this is a pretty like complicated topic, so not many normal users would understand what's going on in the products.
How do you think about the government's policies in supporting Vietnamese enterprises to solve the problem of cyber attack, especially during their digital transformation?
Cybersecurity is not only an economic technologies areas, but it also plays important roles in national defense and securities. From what I know, I see a lot of movement from the governments in terms of like trying their best to help enterprise to protect this IT system as good as they can. And a few years ago, Vietnam released the cybersecurity law. It provides standard platforms for enterprise over the countries to follow to like increase level of security for their IT systems. And I also see a lot of conferences and events like hackathons about cybersecurity organized by like several ministries of the governments. So that like raise the awareness of of the public and enable the collaborations between different parties. I think it's a good thing. I see like the government have been establishing good communication and information channels between the government and different enterprise in terms of cybersecurity alerts and informations. So by allowing better communications, it also helps enterprise to get to a better level of security.
So what can Vietnam learn from other countries in terms of this issue of cybersecurity?
We can learn from other countries like China, US, Russia, Israel. These countries have recognized the importance of information very early, so they invested in training information security and professionals and hackers very early, and they have like both the quantities and the qualities of security professionals.
So once again, thank you so much for joining our program.
Thank you very much.
Effective and robust cybersecurity requires an information security management system, which is built on the 3 pillars of people, processes, and technology. Among the 3 pillars, people are considered the most important factor to improve cybersecurity. Experts suggested that there should be basic cybersecurity training for everyone so that they can use the internet safely and do not affect the organizations where they work. In addition, cybersecurity professionals also play an important role to help firms prevent cyber threats and solve the problems when they are attacked. And that also wraps up this edition of BizLine. Thank you very much for watching. You can always rewatch our program at vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. From our team here in Hanoi, until next time.